Hey everyone, today I want to go over writing software, specifically Microsoft Word, which a lot of you are probably already using, but you may not be getting the most out of it. So Word is primarily developed for academic and business writing, but I'm going to show you how to configure Microsoft Word to turn it into a powerhouse for writers and how to use some of the tools like find and replace to do things that you had no idea they could do, like searching for words that sound like other words or searching for a specific font. So when we're done, we're going to go from being like a moped to a high performance powerhouse for writers. My name is JD Goff. I'm the author of The Rune That Binds, The Undying Night, and The Whisper of God. And if you like dark fantasy or you know someone who does, head on over to my website where you can actually download a free copy of the first 5 chapters of The Rune That Binds, and then you can see if you like the book without any risk. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is add some resources to the quick access toolbar. This is the main toolbar that sits above the menu toolbar at the top of the screen. It may not be visible, and I'm going to show you how to turn it on if it's not. All right, so this is my setup. This is how I have it configured to do some writing. I've turned some things off for the purposes of this video and turned some things on for the purpose of this video. Like I don't normally have the ribbon showing. I usually hide that. But I do have over here a navigation pane on the left-hand side. I'm going to show you how to turn that on, and that allows you to kind of navigate back and forth between different chapters, or you can actually select pages and you can navigate to a specific page, which is very useful to have, obviously. If you want to quickly go to your latest chapter or to a previous chapter, I'm going to show you how to turn that on and how to configure it. And then over here, I have a thesaurus. So while I'm writing, if I need to come up another word for world, because I've used world too many times, I can just go in there and it will actually give me a bunch of different synonyms for that particular word. So I have these things set up so while I'm writing, I don't really have to leave the writing page. I can just stay on there and I can work on getting the book written. Now, you may have heard that I don't use Microsoft Word to do my writing, and that's true. I use OneNote, but I do use, I bounce back and forth between them. I do my final edit inside of Word, and I have this set up. It's basically the same thing. It's a little bit different, but I'll show you how to get it all in there. So I'll show you how to get the navigation bar. I'm going to show you how to get the thesaurus. And first of all, though, I'm going to show you how to get the quick access, which is this toolbar usually goes up here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. It's very easy. Over in the lower right-hand corner of your ribbon, you're going to have a little arrow pointing down. If you click on that, you're going to see you have an option here all the way at the bottom that says Show Quick Access Toolbar. If you click that and turn that on, you have it appear up here on the top. And you can actually decide where you want it to go. But that's where that's going to be. That shows it right here. You can also hide it. And then you also always show the ribbon. I usually don't have the ribbon turned on. I just show tabs only. So this is actually what my layout really looks like. I have very little going on the screen. I have up in the very top up here, you can see I have my quick access toolbar, and then I have my navigation pane on the left, my thesaurus pane on the right, and then I have where I write here in the center. So I have all the tools that I need to quickly navigate and do things right on one screen. I don't ever have to leave it. So I'm going to show you how to get more things. It's actually very easy. You go over to the very right of the quick access toolbar, and you'll see this little drop down here, and you can click on that, and you can see there's some things that you can just add automatically. So I've added a few of them. So redo and undo are in there already. I've added read aloud. I've added the editor. I did leave one off that I am going to put in to the quick access bar for you as well, depending on whether you want it or not. I don't use it, but you might want it if you do, and that's the dictate function. But how you add additional things here in the editor, by the way, just in case you hadn't figured out, you notice it's over here. So when I'm in writing mode, I actually go to the thesaurus right up here. And when I'm in editing mode, I'm going to switch over to the editor. Over on this right pane, this is just a little caveat. You see right here, I have both of those turned on. I can actually switch back and forth between them if I want to, once I've opened one. To close out one or the other, you just click this little X right here and it closes it out. And you'll see that's gone right now. I don't have that choice, but if I were to click on the editor right here, it just expands. It gives me like a little navigation bar for this right side panel that I have. The adding tools is pretty easy to do. The quick access bar, we're going to actually add auto dictate in here, or dictate, and just go up here. You click on this drop down right down here. You see, I don't have that here, but I do have an option for more commands right there. I'm going to click on that. That's going to bring this up right here. And it does have the quick access toolbar. You'll notice that we have popular commands. And if I go in here and I look at this, I don't have the dictate option. So I can actually turn on all the commands, or I can do it based upon what's available in different sections. So if I go into the home tab here, it'll show me everything that's in the home tab, which if I go over here on this, let's make this stand up here for just a second. So this is my home tab, and these are all the controls that are on my home tab. And if I go in here and I open the more controls and I switch from this to the home tab, it is all alphabetical. You can see there's a whole lot of things in here, but we're going to go to the dictate option down here. So we have dictate office, and dictation menu. And so we're just going to go to office dictation. We'll just add that in there and put that right there. Another one that we can add that I think is actually really cool. We'll go to more commands here. We're going to go back into home. And this time we're going to go down to transcribe. Pretty much all the way down to the bottom. And that's transcribe right there. I'm going to go ahead and add that. Pop that over there. These are my quick access, and you can configure it the way that you want. I don't use transcribe or dictate all that much. I do use dictate when I'm kind of putting these scripts together so I can just kind of free flow and then I go and edit it. But I've got these different things in here, and if you don't want one, you can just go in and you can actually turn it off by going into more commands. And this there, all I have to do is just hit remove, and it takes it out of there, and you see the acronyms goes away. I have my spell checker. I have this is really cool up here. So when I get done, I like to print out my most recent work and then just have a stack that grows and grows and grows. So I can real fast come up here and I can just print, preview, and see what it's going to look like. So that's actually pretty cool. Then I've got my editor, which I showed you over here. I have my thesaurus over here. And then this is the cool part. I'm going to talk about dictate in a second. I already showed you speech to text. Transcribe is a cool function that when you click on it, what it does, let's close this out here. What it does is opens up another tab over here on that sidebar. So now I have my thesaurus and my editor, and I have transcribe. I can either start recording in here or I can upload audio. So if you have a portable voice recorder or an app on your phone, you can literally write with your voice. So I have all of these things in here. I don't do the dictation ones so much, but the transcribe I do. So these are the ones I recommend. Play around, find the ones that you would find most useful for you. And the easiest way to do is look at the ones that you use the most up here in the ribbons. You go to reference, you go to mailings, whatever it is. And when you identify the ones that you use the most, and you're gonna go up here, go down to more commands, and then under popular commands, you're gonna switch that and go to the home, insert, whatever, and pick the tab that you want. And then you're going to find the ones that use the most, identify them, move them over so that you can configure your quick access up here so you can grab them really fast. There's a couple other things I'm going to show you how to do here real fast to actually streamline your writing process. So if you're like me and you actually are writing and you come across a misspelled word, and it's always highlighted, so full page, I see that little red squiggle right there, and I have to fix it. So what I do is I end up stopping what I'm doing, and I go to fix it, and then I start rewriting the sentence and then the paragraph, and then I'm in this endless loop of fine tuning and tweaking, and I never get the first draft done. So when I'm inside of my document, I turn all of that off. And so what I do is I go into my file up here and I go down to options. So you're going to turn your spell check and grammar check off. I really highly recommend that because you're going to be constantly trying to create the Sistine Chapel without doing a sketch of it first, if that makes sense. And it's going to slow your writing down. Do your corrections, do your spell check and your grammar fixes after you get your first draft done, especially if you are one of those individuals that just feels like you can't get that book done because you're constantly rewriting the same sentence or paragraph or scene over and over and over. So I come in here and I go into the proofing tab. I go down to file. Let me show you how I got here again. You go to file and you go to options, and you're gonna go down to the proofing on the left-hand side. And down here, you've got about halfway down where it says, check spelling as you type and mark grammar as you type. Uncheck those. And the way to turn them back on is you don't have to come back in here. Once you uncheck those and you actually have that applied, the way to turn them back on is actually very easy. You can go up here to your quick access right here, and that's your spelling and grammar, and it will automatically turn them back on. Now, this is a finished manuscript, so there's not a lot of spelling errors. And I know the ones that are marked are deliberate choices inside of dialogue. You can also turn spelling and grammar back on by clicking on the editor. At any rate, that turns spell and grammar check back on. and navigating back to the thesaurus turns it off so I can work clean. I don't have to worry about being distracted by those spelling errors, which will stop my writing because I want to fix them. Okay, on the left-hand side, I'm gonna show you how to get the navigation, which is actually really, really a lot of fun. And you can actually add that if you want to your quick start menu. It's actually in the view. So if I go in here and I go to my popular commands, I go to the view tab right here, you'll see I have the navigation pane. Open the navigation pane, I add that. So you can add whatever you want in here. So now I have the navigation pane and I can open and close it that way. So that's basically the configuration for getting ready to write. Now let's talk about word processing and actually doing the word processing. So I have two phases, the writing phase and then the editing phase for the final drafts. I don't do layout and design in Word. If you've watched my other videos, you know I'm not a big fan of it. Microsoft Word does have layout and design capabilities, but it's not good at it. So I will write my document and then I will go out and I will export it into a program like Scribus or Kindle Create, or the one that I use, which is Atticus, to do the final layout and design. This is where I'm at for writing. And then when I do the editing, to get my editor, I just go up here to quick access and it's right there. And I'm now in edit mode. And this is finding all of my mistakes. Now, I'm showing you what you can do with Word. I don't use the Microsoft Word editor. I use PROWRITING, but this will get the job done. It's not a bad grammar checker, but it is fairly limited. You got formal, professional, and casual. That's all you can do. So it is kind of limited, and the focus is on business and academic writing, but it will work in a pinch. I actually have the ProWriting Aid one, which is that one right there. And I turn that on and it turns on my ProWriting Aid. That's what I use. Guys, this isn't sponsored. I just recommend you actually get Grammarly or ProWriting Aid. That's the one I recommend. Grammarly also focuses on business writing more. When we were looking at this one over here, you can see I only have formal writing, professional, and casual, but inside of ProWriting Aid, I have all of these different categories. I have general, academic, business, casual, fiction, nonfiction, script, technical, and web copy. And then inside each of these, like in fiction, I actually have additional. So inside fiction, I have general, children's, fantasy, historical, horror, literary. I have a lot more fine tuning that I can do for that. So, but like I said, we're focusing on what you can do with Word. If you want to download ProWriting Aid, I've put a link to it down below and you can download it. There is a free version and then there's a paid version. The paid version's not cheap. I'll be honest with you, it is pretty expensive, but I find it saves me so much time that it's actually worth it. So let's go ahead and move on to the writing phase of the tutorial. So once I get in here, I'm going to be writing. I've gone ahead and turned on my thesaurus by just clicking up here on my quick access. So now I have that and I can go through and I can work on my book as I'm moving through and I'm adding chapters. One of the things you're going to do, and this will be useful for when you export your final manuscript into a tool to do the layout and design, when I'm down here, so I'm in the main text, my style is set to normal. So styles just identify a set of formatting parameters, and you can actually get to them by clicking on this little thing right down here. If I actually go into heading 1 and I go into edit it, I can change the color. I can go in here and modify the color and I can change it to black, hit that, and then okay, and then okay. And you see that's become black and all of my styles are now set to black. So you can edit and tweak it, but the important thing to recognize is this is going to be flagged in what's called metadata as heading 1, so that when you import it into a layout and design tool like Kindle Create or Adobe InDesign, it's going to know that's separate and it can be used to create a chapter entry for building the table of contents. So that's I do recommend going in there and changing your headings are really easy. Your styles, just click on the line of text that you want to change and then just click on this right here. So if I click on that, you'll see it just becomes normal, but you'll also notice that the chapter heading for it went away. If I switch back to heading 1, it does reappear. So that's how that's done right there. Now, one of the things you might notice on the navigation pane side over here is that I have a gap between each of them. That's actually not normal. When I was writing this initially, I have right here a line after shadow walkers. You can see this little black kind of arrow right here that I can actually collapse and open and it hides the text. You have that right there. And if I actually click on that line, you'll see right here, it's actually heading 2. And And I can manipulate it by changing the heading just like I can with the primary one with heading 1. So if I click on this, let me type something here. And you'll see it's appearing down here under Shadow Walkers. It now has a subheading under there as well. So that's what it's there for. And you could use that if you want to, but I don't want it. I can either delete it and that gets rid of the gap, or what I can do is I can actually go in and I can just set that to normal and that'll get rid of the gap as well. Okay, let's talk about find and replace now, which is a pretty useful tool. I'm sure you used it before. In fact, if you have, you probably recognize this. If you go over here hit results, this is what you get when you hit Alt F to pull up the find function. And you can type something in here and it'll find everything. I'm going to type in shadow and it'll find everything in with the first letters I type, which doesn't have the W, but it'll highlight the SHADO. And it's not going to distinguish between uppercase and lowercase or entire words. There is a way to do that. You can also, on the navigation pane, you can actually click on and navigate your way through where those instances occur. But let's say you want to be more specific and you only want to treat shadow walkers, which in my book are a proper noun. They're a kind of thing. What you can do is over here on the navigation page, when you're under results, click on that little arrow and then you're going to go down to advanced find. Or you can click on replace, but you're going to go to advanced find and then click on more. And that's going to give you an option where you can actually match case. Match case will show your capitals versus your lowercase. So let's go in and we're going to change to shadow again. Let's see what we want to do. Well, let's do uppercase to begin with. And you see right there it found shadow. Pretty straightforward. It's going to find all the shadow that are capitalized, but since it's a proper noun, I want to make sure that I catch any words that are lowercase, but I also want to make sure I match just the whole word. I don't want shadowy or shadows. I just want shadow. Now I can highlight all of them too if I want to. It's only going to highlight the word shadow, not shadowy, so it's going to ignore that. So if I go in here and I clear the highlighting and I come over here and I uncheck that and I have shadow in there and I just highlight all, now it'll do that. And then I can find all those instances. Or I can clear the highlighting by clicking on it again and choosing the clear highlighting. Well, let's actually go look for the lowercase shadows so I can find the ones that should be a proper noun, but I didn't write them that way. So I'm going to type out the whole word, shadow walker, and I'm going to have it match the case. And when I do that, I can highlight them all if I want to. Then I hit find next, and you can see it right there. There's my shadow walker, and it's actually highlighted. And I could actually just go and look through and find every one of them that I didn't spell right and fix them manually, or I could just click on the replace tab and then type in the way I want it to be spelled and then hit replace all. So your results tab in the navigation pane gives you the find and replace functionality. You can also look for words that sound like other words, which is pretty cool. Just check that box in there and put that in so to look for homonyms. Let's clear the highlighting here. And then you can also look by format. So if I go in here and I actually look for a font, I can actually choose the font. I can leave the word blank and I can just specify the font I want to look for. Let's look for everything italicized. All right, so we've got italic. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Okay, it is. And now when I hit find next, it's going to take me to italicized text right there. And it's going to find me all the italicized text. And if I go in here and I highlight all my text is now highlighted. So I can actually see all of my text everywhere that's highlighted. So if I go over here to the pages and I scroll down, you can see in here all my text is highlighted. And I can click on the individual page and get right to it very easily. This is a really useful tool for finding like internal dialogue, or if you use a certain font type to express thoughts or internal monologues or telepathic communication or whatever you're using it for in your book, you can quickly find those things and identify them if you need to change them a little bit. Okay, I've shown you one way to select a specific type of font or type, but you can actually go up here and click on select here. And if you go down to select all text with similar formatting, you have to make sure that you've clicked on the formatting you want. You don't have to highlight it, but just click on the field and then you can click highlight and now everything is highlighted. So we go in here, we can see that exactly the same thing, fewer steps. So everything that I wanted in that particular font that was italicized, because of the style, I was able to find it and I can have the same effect with fewer steps, which is pretty cool. And then I can go in and I can highlight it or unhighlight it depending on what I want to do. So this is a faster way to work than doing the find option. You just use select and you can grab everything. Now, the way you can actually use this to good effect is with relation to your headings. Let me show you what I'm talking about. If you remember the gaps we had over here, because we had that heading 2 and it's kind of sloppy and messy, and it just makes things look kind of weird. If we Let me go ahead and clear this stuff out here real fast. Okay, so if you remember with our headings, we had, let me jump over here, the gap that we want to get rid of. So the gap is going to, we can do it a couple ways. We can just go in and click on it. We can delete it. We can go in and one by one change each one of these things. Well, I have a lot of chapters. I have like 45 chapters. I have my front matter. I have my back matter. All that's going to take a lot of time. I could, like I said, just hit normal and it goes away. I could do that 50 or 60 times, or I can work smart. And this is the whole purpose of this video, is to take Word from a clunky machine to a super high performance one. So let's go select on the line we want, select the similar formatting. We're going to just click on that. Pretty straightforward. Now we've selected every single line that's the same, and we just click on normal. Now over here on the left, you see what happens. Because we were able to select all of them simultaneously and set them all to normal simultaneously, it took a couple of seconds, not several minutes. Just a way to work faster and smarter than harder. And all those gaps are gone, and it looks really good. And now you can navigate nicely and cleanly between different things, and you'll retain that heading section for importing into Kindle Create for generating your table of contents. Okay, let's talk about your clipboard. I'm sure you've done copy and paste before, but you probably don't know you can do more with it in Word than you might expect. So you have the option here. If you click on the little expansion inside over here, and click on that, all of a sudden you have a clipboard panel on the left-hand side, and it keeps track of your copies. So I've got one in here, but let's go ahead and grab a couple more. So let's right-click on that, copy, and then that's in there. And then let's grab another one. By the way, ignore that little pop-up where it says Sparks and rephrase. That's from ProWriting 8. It's not going to pop up in yours unless you have that installed. Let's go up to the title page and just page down one. And then we can just decide which of these things we want to paste in there. We can paste that in there. So this is a really cool way to move text around, and you can actually have a long history of these and just pick the one. You got a preview over here on the side that shows you which one, and you can shuffle paragraphs and sentences around a lot easier this way because you have a record of what you've copied, and you can delete individual ones or you can clear them all. So that's copy and paste with the clipboard, and it's a much more powerful tool if you know about that. Let's talk about dictate now. So right here, and it's going to actually start typing what I'm saying, and you can see how accurate it is. It's got a lot more accurate than it has been in times past. So let me close this clipboard. So if you're a person, and I'm not that person, but if you're a person who just narrates their book, you can just do that. Now, the quality of the microphone is going to have an effect, an impact on it, but it is pretty good at what it does. If you pause and actually have the settings turned on, but it will auto punctuate. But if you pause it, it will auto punctuate. So if I pause for half a second, that's how it actually put the period right there. So it ended my sentence. Another feature of Dictate is transcription. So I talked about transcription earlier and putting the shortcut in the quick access menu, but you can actually record something here if you want to, and it will actually put it up there into the text. So it's going to update it to OneDrive. You do have to have a OneDrive account, and you have to be online for it to work. So I recorded this earlier, and I'm doing a voiceover now, so it's not going to match what I said, but you'll see it appear here in just a second. It does take a little bit longer than the auto dictate, but it does do some additional things that auto dictate doesn't. Now this is what I recorded earlier, and you can see it actually shows different speakers, and if there are two speakers, it would break them up, speaker 1 and speaker 2. And there's just me. You can actually edit the transcript by clicking on the little pencil in the section that you want to work with and actually change what it says. And then when you're ready, you can see right here where I can edit it. You can change the speaker's name, and you can actually change the actual text that's in there. And when you're ready to add it, you just come down here, and from this drop down, you're going to pick what you want to put in, just the text with speakers, timestamps, or with speakers and timestamps. Let's just do text. And this is what it actually recorded when I did this earlier. I'm doing a voiceover now to fix the bad audio that I had when I was doing this. And I don't know if it's because I was recording and the microphone was on, but it caused some echo. At any rate, you can see it right there, and it's pretty cool because if you want to use your phone or if you want to use a voice recorder that you pick up from Amazon, you could actually dictate your story into that and then import it in here, and you could then just pretty much write with your voice. I know it's something some people do. My brain doesn't work that way, but some people do. Okay, let's look at draw now here real fast, and I'm just going to show you some of the stuff that you can do. So I've got my first chapter up here, and with the draw tools, I use a tablet, so I actually use a stylus, but you can do it on screen well with your mouse. Or if you have a tablet but don't have a stylus, you can use your finger. You can see what it says draw with touch. And you can write on the screen. You can highlight the sections that you want. So it's really useful for doing that proof on a manuscript. And I find it more immersive to do it this way. It's like working on paper than sitting in front of the computer and just reading the screen. I'm visually or viscerally, that's the word I'm looking for, interacting with the manuscript. You can add a ruler in here, which is pretty cool, and you can adjust its angle with the mouse. And when you have that there, you can actually then kind of use it to draw a straight line so you don't have these curves. So if I want to draw a straight line here with the red marker, I can do that. And you can see it just right there, as opposed to without the ruler. It's kind of squiggly. And you can click on the eraser and just erase things to clean up your screen. You can also hide the ink under the review tab so you don't see it. One of the other things you can do is you can go up to here where the space divider is under home, and you can actually expand the space between different lines of text so you have room to write your notes in using the draw tool so that you can actually edit on a tablet like you would a piece of paper. It works better if you have a stylus, but you can use your finger as well. Do it another way, which I'm going to show you here in just a second. So if you go to design, we're not going to mess with those, but you'll see over here, you've got paragraph spacing right there. And if you click on that, you can actually select your paragraph spacing, and it just automatically applies to the entire document. But you see how much faster it is, and then I have space to write if I'm going to do the draw tools to edit on a tablet. And then when you're done, you just go back in and set your paragraph spacing back to no paragraphs. The other thing I use in the design section are watermarks, which you can see just to the right here. Just click on that and you have the option of selecting from a variety of watermarks to tag all the pages in your document to indicate what they are, confidential or draft in our case. I use the diagonal one, I just like it better. And you can see draft appear here in the body of the text just underneath. It's kind of grayed out, but let me close that. The every page in the manuscript is not going to have that watermark on it. Let's close that too. Okay, so the advantage of this is it just helps me know whether I'm working with a draft, which draft I'm working with. You can actually come in here and then easily remove the draft as well by coming all the way down to remove watermark. Let's switch that to thesaurus. And now the watermark is gone. You don't have to go with the standard ones. You do have the ability to create your own watermark as well. I'll show you that here right now. So you go up to the watermark, you're going to go custom watermark. You can do a picture watermark, no watermark, or text watermark. We'll do text. And then you can set the transparency and the color of it if you want to here in this area. But we're going to go ahead and actually I can change the font too, but we're going to just change this to say first draft. And then when we hit OK, I now have the first draft. I might change the color or the background because it's kind of faint, but it lets me know what it is. And if I print them out too, it lets me know that these pages are from a draft and which draft it is. So that gives you a little bit more organizational power over your manuscript in being able to identify which draft you're working with or any other special information you want to put in. Okay, we're going to go over to references now. We're going to talk about word count and comments and the whatnot like that. The one thing that I wanted to make you aware of, by the way, I apologize for the audio, guys. I've been having mic problems with this video recording, so it doesn't quite work the way I want it to. I'm going to open word count here real fast. So I've had to delete the original audio and I'm doing voiceovers on this video. But word count shows you how many words you've written are in your document. It shows you the pages, it shows you the word count, all that sort of stuff. And you can, if you want to, you can add it to your quick access toolbar. It's under the review settings. So if you just go into the review tab here, let me find it real fast and click on that and then just scroll down. It's going to be toward the bottom, of course, because it is word count. So you want to go all the way down to the bottom and find word count, and you can add that as well. Like I said, configure the quick access toolbar to what you want it to be. Now the word count's up there and you can just click on it and see any given moment where you're at. You can, at the beginning of your writing session, write down how many words you have. At the end of your writing session, open this up, see how many words you wrote. Then you just kind of know what your progress is for that day. So if you have a writing goal of 2,000 words or whatever, you can track it this way. I don't use text box or footnotes and things like that. You can uncheck it or check it, but it won't change here because I don't use those. If you do, then that will change what your word count is. So one of the challenges you have as an independent author is proofing your material. And one of the ways you can do that is to actually have it read back to you using a text to voice reader. Microsoft has one built in. It has a real basic one here under the review tab, and it'll just, when you click on it, it'll just start reading your text. But they have a more sophisticated one over in the View tab, which is called the Immersive Reader. And when you click on that, it gives you some other controls and settings that allow you to do things like highlight the line of text that's being read. You can choose 1, 3, or 5. You can change the page color. You can change the column width. That allows you to do that sort of thing right there. And it actually just makes it easier to follow along when you're proofing your document. So one of the things I really like about this setup, the way that it is when you can go here and you can actually do the line reading, which we'll just go ahead and we'll pick a line focus of 3, which I like. And that's not too bad. You can move through there and kind of see where it's at. But I also like to change the page color to black because I think this just stands out a lot easier and makes it, for me, easier to read. And you can actually go in and you can use your zoom function here to make it slightly larger if you want to. And then you've got this nice little window, and like I said, you do 1 line, you can do 5 lines, but I like this because it's just simple, and I think it's easier to read than the white on the black, but you can do whatever color you want. And the really cool thing I like about this is you can actually stop the reading when it's reading it.
The dangers of the road during daylight were small, and he left early enough to reach Miller's Down before sunset.
So let's say like I want to change that apostrophe S to just a straight S. I can stop and I can edit on the fly while I'm in here so I can fix my mistakes as I go. Okay, so we're going to talk about annotation and collaboration now. If you click to the review tab here, you'll see we've got some things here, translate languages, things like that. But I want to talk about the comments. So you can actually add a new comment, and this is a way to annotate your writing. Now, it's not working with with no comments in the document. I don't have any comments added yet, but I can highlight something here. Let's highlight this paragraph here, and then just add a comment. So I'm going to put in here a comment. It identifies who's making the comment, so it's me. So I'm saying rework this so it flows better. So I can leave notes to myself while I'm writing, saying to change this or to change that. So I don't have to stop and edit on the fly. I can make observations while I'm writing and then come back to them later, which makes it pretty easy to annotate your writing while you're working. Or if you're working with a collaborator, another author or an editor or beta readers, you can set it up so that they can add comments to your document as well. You'll also notice over here, my comment bubble has appeared in the sidebar. So you can kind of see that, and you can actually move through them right here. So there's my editor, and then the same thing with the thesaurus is there. So I can actually see the comments, but I can actually hide them if I want to by going to no markup. And now you don't see them at all, which makes it, cleaner writing. I don't like all the clutter, but when you go into the comment section and you click on the comment, it automatically highlights it. So let's scroll down and actually add another comment later in the book in another chapter. So I'll highlight that there, and we're just going to add a new comment right here, and we can put in whatever we want. And by clicking on these, we can actually move around to the different comments that we've dropped in there. So it's actually a really cool way of annotating your manuscript with ideas, thoughts, things you want to change, any kind of comments, or if you have beta readers or an editor or another author you're working with, you can do that. Let's talk about tracking changes now, which is pretty cool. So you can actually make changes to your document, and you can say, I'm just going to track mine. Or again, if you're collaborating with somebody, you can track all changes. But let's go ahead and make a change here real fast. I'm going to change this to camp non. And you can see right here, it's actually tracking my change and showing me what I changed and what the old one was. And I can zoom in here a little bit so you can see it a little bit better here. So you can kind of see it, and the change I made has got a mark through the line through it, and then the new text is underlined in red, but you can kind of see it. I can reject changes. And then when I do that, I can move on to the next change, or I can just reject the change. And when I do that, the original word goes in there, but I can see the change that I did make is still there. So I can restore it if I want to, and I can move on to the next one. I don't have a next one, so it won't let me navigate to that. But you can put these in anywhere, and then you can see you can easily navigate to them. And once you're done, you can go through, find those, and you can just remove them and have the changes that you put in remain the final draft of the document. So you have a lot more power to kind of edit and control your document. You've got comments, the ability to track changes, which is really pretty cool. You can also go in and delete the comments in here by clicking on these ellipses here. You can choose delete that and say delete the thread, and it gets rid of it. So you can get rid of your comments once you're done, and you can have a nice clean manuscript and just remove everything from there so that you're ready to export. So the next thing we're going to look at is comparing documents. You may have two copies of the same manuscript. You want to find out which one is most current or see what the changes are. You can actually go to compare, and you're going to go and navigate to where one document is, and you'll open that, and then you'll go and go to the revised document and open that. And you want to make sure that you have down here where it says new document at the bottom, you're going to have that selected. You can do all these different settings in here, but I just leave them all turned on. You can turn them off, turn them on if you want to. So that way it's not going to track those things. But like I said, I leave them all on, but you can toggle on and off what you want to look for change-wise between the two documents. And then come down here on the bottom, make sure you have the new document selected. Don't worry about the character levels or word levels. I just leave that at word level. Otherwise, you can look at changes in actual characters in each individual word. But you can do original document, you can do a revised document, or do the new document, which is I recommend, which means it'll open up the side-by-side comparison in a new Word document instead of the existing one. Hit OK. It may take a while to generate because you're dealing with a large book. I'm dealing with 120, 140,000 word novel, so it will take a little bit of time. And then when it's done, it will open up a new document for us to look at. Okay, so here's our new document, and you'll see on the left-hand side, we have the pane that shows us all the different revisions. There's over 6,000 of them. And let me go ahead and get rid of the tabs up here. Like I said, you have all these different changes over here on the left-hand side, and you can click on them. It'll actually take you where you want to go. So if I click on that, it'll move me down in both the center screen, which is the compared document. And then on the right, we have the original document on top and the revised document on the bottom. So it'll highlight those things and show them for you. You can actually see when you look at them, the difference between the two right here. And I'll just make sure these are highlighted so you can see them. Anyway, this lets you compare the documents and see which one is probably the one that you want to keep. You can actually go in and you can merge the changes if you want to, which is pretty cool. One thing I forgot to mention is when you're setting up the comparison, you can actually change the label to identify what you want the labels to be for when you change something. So like for instance here, I'm going to type in phonetic because one script is phonetic, the other is the regular manuscript for publication. And you can see that now instead of saying unnamed, it says phonetic, and it shows you what happened, whether it was added or deleted. Okay, guys, that's the video. And I know it's kind of long and there's a lot of information in there, but I really wanted to show you how you could leverage Microsoft Word into a real author's powerhouse. You may not use all of the things I showed you today, but I'm hoping you can find a use for at least some of them. And I did focus on the Microsoft editor because that's what's built in there, but it is business centric. So I would really recommend going out and getting ProWriting Aid. I know Grammarly is very popular, but it's also business centric. And ProWriting Aid does have a free version. If you can afford the paid version, I highly recommend it. It's a great program, but the free version will give you a lot of the stuff that I've already shown you, and not as many reports, but you will get the option of picking genres in your editor type so that you can actually have that kind of control that I was showing you earlier. That's it I have for the video, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I hope it was helpful. The best way to support me is to like and share, obviously. And also, if you want to support me financially, go out and buy my books. I'm probably going to do a Patreon at some point, but I'm not doing this for money, if that makes sense. But I do have to justify the cost. In the meantime, guys, keep busy, write every day, even if it's just a word. And I really appreciate you all. Have a great, great day.